What is going on? You're tuned into another episode, or the latest episode of Panther TV. We've got Afro House Pioneer, and I'm safe to say that, the one and only DJ FIDDLA. Thank you for coming on.
Pleasure for having me, bro.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's take it back to the beginning, because I see that now Afro House, there's a buzz about it. But I think it's important, especially on Panther TV, that we talk to you, because you're one of the pioneers of this. Of all the house genres to go for, deep, tech, what was it about Afro House that was for you, that pulled you into that sort of lane?
Yeah, I think for me, you speak to most people that are into the Afro House scene, it's a spiritual thing, and that's what kind of grasped, kind of took me, made me kind of like cling on to the sound, and I think in the early stages of me getting into the scene, kind of networking with people like Seth and Saint from Tribe Records, hearing this kind of like African vibe over the house thing, just like drew me in.
Yeah.
And from then I started sort of connecting with a lot of people from South Africa, because that's predominantly where the sound originated from.
Yeah, the mecca of it. Yeah.
Networking with people like Black Coffee, DJ Merlon. These are the early guys, kind of pushing out the music back in the day. And and then networking with people like Tribe Records, that were one of the few people, including myself, Aluga Rebels, that were pushing the sound from around sort of 2007, 2008 in the UK. And it just kind of escalated from there, man. And I've never looked back.
Yeah.
No.
Looking back at then, I mean, you're naming huge names. You've obviously mentioned Black Coffee.
Yeah.
I think if you look at even events now, he just puts his name to it.
Yeah.
People that ain't even into house are just turning up.
Yeah.
Obviously, the collaboration with Drake. What resistance did you meet though? Because you were on this scene before it was popping. So what sort of not negative, but it wasn't really the popping sound. So what sort of things were you challenged against when you were trying to,
I think in terms of, I wouldn't say negativity, but I think anything new to what is the current trend is seen as unwelcome, so to speak. And I think what the Afro House brings is it brings that Caribbean vibe, the African vibe, and that blackness. And I think living in the generation that we live in, some people can see that as going too cultural.
Okay.
In terms of the dance music scene.
Yeah.
I think that's the only negative vibe I felt at the time. But I was quite impressed that the majority of people did take to it.
Yeah.
And as I said, I think it's because it's a very spiritual sound and a very capturing sound. I just found that wherever I played it, there was a crowd of people in any kind of nightclub that was just like, wow.
Yeah. Moved by
moved by it and took to it. So I never saw much negativity. As I said, the only thing I experienced was with the current genres that are big then and still big today. It was always harder to get through that gate because you're bringing in a new sound,
of course,
kind of thing, But as we see now, that's not really an issue now.
Of course, it's not. The landscape has changed.
Yeah.
But it's not just the fact that it's the DJing that you do. You've always been involved in events. We're going to be talking about your events. We're going to talk about record labels, and we're going to talk about radio.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about the events, because we've seen it, moving deep.
Moving deep, that's right.
Where was this baby born from? And then talk to me about the events.
Yeah, well, Moving Deep, we started, I can't leave out, the people that brought me to where I am now. So me and a friend of mine called Carl H., we formed Moving Deep in around 2003. This time I was on a station called Unknown FM.
Great name.
Back in the day. Back in the day. And this was when, I wasn't really into the Afro House scene. It was more Latin. That Latin house was the closest thing you got to that kind of sound. People like Louis Vega and those guys bringing forth that kind of music. So we started doing small events in like little wine bars. Just me and Carl and a few other guys, just for the fun of it. And then we realised that we had a following, and the fan base was growing. So I'd say around 2005 to 2006, we started, making the events more sort of mainstream and putting a bit more effort into them. Started doing events with people like Mikasa, Colin Lovelace, both parties and stuff. And then we went on.
It must have been live those
It was.
parties.
It was popping. It was popping because we had the mixture of the soulful, and we was just starting to bring in the kind of Afro sound in. But as I said, it was more your kind of Louis Vegas and your kind of more Latinese kind of sound. And it kind of escalated from there. And then we kind of went on to doing events in collaboration with other promoters in places like Ministry of Sound and so forth. That helped our name and helped us grow. And we've kind of continued, man. And I've kind of like taken over everything myself. It's just solely me doing stuff now, and I've just kind of escalated things from around, I'd say, where we at now? Gosh.
2020.
Yeah, so from about 2014 to now, it's just been me pushing the events, the promotion, so forth. We have a residency at the AD Festival in Amsterdam.
Big move,
We've done 3 years there. I do bits and bobs in Croatia. It's escalating nicely.
Talk to me about Ministry of Sound and how accommodating they were, or there was back then for that, because it wasn't really the nights that would be dominated. It wasn't. How did they take to you? Were they kind of like, all right, we'll give you a little this, or did you actually feel, do you know what? I like that they put their neck out and said, no, you can have the night. How did you find that relationship?
I think, as I said, it was, obviously Ministry's a massive venue and you have different rooms. So we had different promoters in different rooms. But at that present time, we wasn't solely pushing the Afro sound. I'm from the soulful house background, so that I always had that, that kind of, that box. And it was a matter of bringing the listeners, the ravers, the followers into the sound slowly. So we wasn't intending to do an event and just go straight in with some at the time. As I said,
try to like drip feed it.
Drip feed it to them. Because I mean, even me from around sort of 2007, I was still getting into the sound. So something that you might hear now would have been maybe still too full on for me to take on. So we drip fed them. We played stuff like Louis Vega and you kind of Dimitri from Paris. These guys was kind of making you kind of, I don't know if you would call it Afro House then, but you might listen to it, like a more salsa kind of vibe, And the reaction was good. Which kind of gave me the inspiration to keep on pushing forward and, doing what I do today kind of thing.
So then you kind of moved on to moving deep, not only the events, but the records.
The record label,
That's a big move.
It's a big move.
Now, how did that come about? What gave you the fire to say, do you know what, I need to kind of control what is coming out now?
I think where I was currently within the Afro House scene, I kind of covered most aspects. In terms of being a UK DJ, playing Afro House, I was playing across the world, doing my bit. I had all the connections, and it kind of made sense for that to be my next move. Plus, I've always been into music in terms of production. I've always been someone that's made music, and there's not that much people pushing the Afro sound on that level in the UK. You have maybe 3 or 4 guys that have got their Afro House labels. So there was enough scope and enough space and room for me to do something like that successfully. And I mean, as I said, the label started last year, and we're on our 14th release currently. Amazing. And it's been going really well. And I think the advantage I probably have to a lot of people is having the connections I've had throughout the years. So it hasn't been a task for me now to get certain artists signed to a label, kind of so to speak. So it's the label kind of made sense for me to do, in terms of me progressing and sort of trying to cover all avenues in terms of events, record label, producer, DJ kind of thing. I just thought it was right for me to do. I mean, it's been something that I've always wanted to do also. What
would you say for budding DJ? Because you've been DJing many years.
Many years.
But what would you say? Because it's very, very, very hard to kind of move over to actually start producing your own tracks. And because it seems like quite a few DJs, it happens. Like, do you get to that stage where it's like, do you know what, I want to have a little bit more control? Because that's a big jump from playing, you know, tracks and getting your bookings, the money's coming in and you're getting popular. But to then say, actually, productions wise, like you've got to immerse yourself in the music.
You do. I think what a lot of people don't know about me also is that I used to make garage.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I was signed to Jetstar Records, which is a major record label. We still like all the sort of, you know, when garage music was going through the phase where they was remixing all the reggae music. Yeah, so we used to do a lot of that. I was also signed to Nice and Right Records. So I've been making music for a long time.
Okay.
I kind of just took a step back for years.
Yeah.
And kind of, you know, I've kind of developed myself again. So I've always had the production skills there. And the record label is just something I've always wanted to do. And I think my status within the Afro House scene just felt right for me to now jump into having my own record label. But it's not easy.
This is the thing. It's not from a DJ to that.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's time consuming. You have to be dedicated, and you know. But it's, as I say to everyone, when something's your passion, and you love something so strongly, then you find a way for it to work. You know, because it doesn't seem like a chore to me. You know, as hard as it is, as you know, sometimes I'm up until 7 o'clock in the morning, just trying to keep my stuff moving. But I wouldn't have it no other way. You know, and I think the same should apply to anyone. You know, if you're into music for the passion, it's something that you love, then there's no reason why you shouldn't go full out. You shouldn't have no barriers, so to speak. So, yeah.
I don't think, I think in terms of passion, we can't really label you with not having that, because it's not only the DJ and the record label, but you did say you were obviously an unknown radio before, but you haven't stopped with radio. I know you've been on the beat before.
That's right.
And now it's My Soul. So,
that's right.
So you're still doing the DJing.
Yeah.
The tracks are getting released with you know, and then now you're back on radio.
Yeah.
I thought that you wouldn't have time, but maybe you're right with what you're saying about having a passion to do that. Like, tell us about the show at My Soul.
Yeah. So the show on My Soul, because My Soul now have a house section, which is called My House. I was approached by them just when they kind of put the house section together, and obviously, being I'm not the how would I say, I wouldn't say I'm the go-to person in terms of Afro House, but you know, my work kind of spoke volumes to them, and I was approached to them and they asked me if I'd like to do a show, Afro House show, which I jumped at, of course. Started that 2019. It's been running ever since. Unfortunately, due to the lockdown, I've stopped the show for now, and waiting to get a new slot. I used to do a Sunday, every Sunday evening, which
it's a very good slot.
It's a very good slot,
especially for that vibe.
It is. But unfortunately, with certain other things I've got going in my life, family and stuff like that, it wasn't really working out. So
and it's a lot you're taking on.
It's a lot I'm taking on.
You're doing a lot anyway.
Yeah, it's a lot I'm taking on. So, you know, it wasn't fitting in, and I was getting to the point where I wasn't able to put 100% into the Sunday night show. So, but I'll be back on all 4 cylinders soon, as soon as we find something that works for me and for my soul. But the radio station itself is a massive success. And the good thing about being on radio and pushing the Afro House sound is that you draw in fresh people to the sound, which is one of the main reasons I do it. You know, and especially in the UK, Afro House has come a long way, but it's still got a long way to go. So I thought it was important for me to be on that platform to push the sound. It was a great opportunity and something I'm really grateful to be offered.
Of course.
You know, and as I said, in terms of the radio, all I can say is just watch out for the return of the Moving Deep sessions.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the tracks that have been released, because we had Nguvu, which was last year.
Yeah, Nguvu.
On Digital Deep Music.
That's right. That was sort of beginning of 2019.
How did the response from that?
Yeah, the response was good. It was my first Afro House release, so I was a bit dubious, but the response was really good. The track done quite well for my first track, you know, and kind of from then I kind of And it's funny because when I released that track, me releasing that track was actually the time when I realised that I need to make my own record label.
Oh, okay.
The music industry, as you probably know, is a crazy industry. And I think that to have your own... I think I wanted my own power, so to speak, in terms of what I put out and what I want other people to hear, you know, and also putting my all into pushing the sound. There's a lot of record labels out there that will take on your music but will not put the effort into promoting your music. And this is half the reason we have record labels.
Yeah.
You know, and there's many that do, but there's also many that don't. And me starting off as an artist opened my eyes to that. So yeah, that kind of gave me the urge to push and do my own thing also. So yeah.
Let's talk about your latest release on Open Bar Music,
Yeah.
Sierra. How did that track come about?
Yeah, so Sierra, I'll tell you a story about that track. So I got hold of the vocals. I can't say how, but I got hold of the vocals.
You can, but
yeah.
But we're gonna keep that.
Yeah, we'll keep that under the hat.
Yeah.
But I was given full access to use the vocals basically.
Amazing, yeah.
And the reason why I named it Sierra because I'm a very cultural person, and I believe in learning your background, no matter what cultural background you come from. 2018, I'd done an ancestral trace and a DNA trace.
Okay.
And they came back as my ancestors originated from the Congo and Sierra Leone.
Leone. Okay.
So hence the name Sierra.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that.
So where's your family are from?
My family from Jamaica.
Jamaica, both
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Jamaica.
yeah.
And then now you've done ancestry, and
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, it was important to trace back before slavery days and whatever, you know.
It's so crazy that you've been drawn to Afro House because of the spirituality.
Yeah.
Before you even knew what was going on. Yeah. And then now you've realised it was your inner spirit talking to you.
Yeah, it
like
was.
Some people just don't get it.
No, I do believe that. Yeah. And I'll say to everyone, you know, when you have that spiritual connection with something, go with it. Yeah. You know, because the spirit form is much more powerful than your physical form.
Of course.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's how the title of Sierra came about. The actual track itself, I really kind of sat back and looked at how the scene was evolving, because how the scene was when I first started pushing the sound has changed a lot.
100%.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. Yeah.
It's what brings the most people. I think. I mean, of course, you've still got the other house genres. Yeah. But there's just this buzz now about Afro House.
Yeah. And I think it's more appealable across the house scene now, where before, I mean, for a majority of people, it doesn't matter how you change the genre, you're still gonna love it. But I think the positivity of changing, I wouldn't say changing it, but progressing the sound into what it is now. You can be into hard house, you can be into deep house. You hear the current Afro House track, and it's gonna draw you in straight away. Whereas before it was a bit like, okay, what's that?
What's going on?
Yeah, which is a good thing, you know. And I think music has to evolve. You know, I've had my times when I've been like, oh man, no, the sound's changing too much. But being fully within the music industry now, I understand that it needs to evolve.
You know what's so funny about, because we're talking about when you're one of the pioneers of Afro House and obviously the spirituality. What's so crazy is we're talking about it evolving to Afro House. When the drum... Do you understand? The drum is the original instrument. The drum is the
original beat of all music.
So is it evolving, or are we just going back to the beginning?
I believe we are just going back, and I also believe one of the reasons I believe that people are drawn into the sound of Afro House so much, because it's got that authentic, natural sound of the drum. Yeah, you know, which is one of the main features.
And it's crazy to
of
think
an
that
Afro
all
House
these
track.
other genres were there, and you were trying to fight to get in. And really, it's the drum, as you said.
Well, you know, what goes around comes around, isn't it?
Of course, and hopefully it will
I think
stay.
we're seeing this with a lot of things in our society nowadays. So yeah, man.
What would you like to be if the world was to end today?
Yeah.
And you've definitely made your you know, your mark on the Afro house scene, and it's a good thing. Panther will always be trying to promote people who are really pioneers in this.
Yeah.
How would you like to be remembered, though? Like, if someone was to say in 50 years' time, and thinking, DJ FIDDLA pioneered the house, but what would you? Because you've put a lot of work in.
I have, man. I have. I mean, I'm hoping the world doesn't end because I've got a lot more to put in.
No, of course.
You know what I mean? But you know, I would just like to be remembered that someone that contributed. You know, someone that made a difference to the scene. You know, and I believe I've done that in terms of the UK, and sort of branching out sort of to Europe and stuff like that. So yeah, I would like to be remembered for that.
Yeah.
You know, someone that's I'm not in it to become the richest man in the world or want to be on any pedestal. You know, I'm quite a quiet guy. You know, but I also like to let people know that know about my brand, which is Moving Deep. Which I push to the max, you know. So yeah, I'd just like to be remembered as someone that's contributed to the scene and tried to make a difference to the scene, and also develop the scene in terms of bringing in talent, you know. Because one thing that I do with my label, I don't just try and concentrate on artists that are current and big, you know. If you,
up and coming people that you can just spot an eye. This person,
which is important,
you know.
Course. And a lot of up and comings don't get that.
Yeah.
You know, they don't get that bringing. A lot of these big labels are, no, unless you're Black Coffee or unless you're Shimza, like, we don't know.
And you'll give them sort of opportunities.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah. It's important because otherwise there is no, there's not a big lifespan within the music.
How can they, just before we wrap it up, how can these budding, you know, producers and DJs, I don't want people flooding these Insta with DMs and stuff like that. But
I don't check out my DMs on Insta, so it's cool.
But how can they kind of get hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, you can get hold of me through all the social medias, Moving Deep, Instagram, FIDDLA, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and email, obviously, movingdeep@hotmail.com. That's it really. You know, I'm on all the social medias.
Just to make sure that you hit him up there.
Yeah.
Finally, I want to know, because we can talk to the cows come home.
Yeah, we can.
We can push it. The most important thing for me is where you do most of your talking is your nights and events.
Yeah.
Because I could say, oh, I like this, but when you go there, you're thinking, I wanna. What can someone who's never gone to an event of yours, or is kind of, I don't know, Black Coffee's alright, but what would you say about your events finally to say what I would experience when I go?
My event, the good thing I can say about my events is that when you come to my event, you're not just going to hear what you hear in Black Coffee today. You're going to hear what you heard 5 years ago. You're going to hear, because within the Afro House scene, there's subgenres. So you have tribal house, then you have ancestral house, and so forth. So we try to book DJs that play across the field. And we also try to put DJs that, for the people that are not necessarily into Afro House, that might be into Soulful House, that can still jam and relate. So that's one good thing about my parties. They're always 100% busy, and the crowd is very important to us. I think this is one of the reasons why we've been able to have successful events for so many years. Very happy crowd, very mixed. You're not going to go in there, it's not going to be full of people with dark glasses and stuff like that. So that's very important to us. Very good vibe, intimate, which is important, and the music blow your mind. If you're any doubt, you can check out our Instagram pages. We've got loads of videos up from our previous events.
Well, there you go, so you can kind of get that option.
Most definitely.
All right, well listen, there you go. This was Panther TV, the one and only DJ FIDDLA.
Thank you very much.